Good evening. Baruch Hashem, we're again at this time of the year when on one hand there's a lot of stress, on the other hand there's a lot of excitement, especially for children. And our sages say that this holiday, we can see the holiness of the Jewish people. This holiday is where we see the Jewish people do things that are beyond the letter of the law. We see that the Jewish people, especially the ladies, they clean not only what is required, but they even clean the walls and the ceiling and the floor, things that are not required according to law. And on one hand, we don't want to stop you, because this is our holiness when we show Hashem that we love him and we want to do even more than he asks from us. But on the other hand, we have to do what can fit into our schedule and whatever we have strength for, because we have limited strength, and if we spend it on things that are not necessary, then for things that need our attention and our strength, we don't have any left. And so, therefore, it's important to learn what is the basics. And then, if you have more time, you're welcome to do what your grandmothers did and whatever you feel is supposed to be done. First, I want to thank Mrs. Maskat, who put in a lot of time, her heart and soul, into preparing for this class, preparing the folders, and the office staff, Emet staff that printed them and made them and set up the room. And it's not only difficult for the ladies to clean the house, but it's difficult for Emet to prepare for Pesach as well, because we are serving hundreds, if not thousands, of people. Now, you see in front of you, the folders have a lot of useful information. We are only going to use the Pesach cleaning guide and the guide to the Seder mitzvah requirements. We're going to speak about what is the minimum requirements for the Seder, and the paper that has rice information, and the times, Zmanim, and on the other side it has Eruv Tavshilin. We'll speak about it. And the last paper that is speaking about selling your chametz. That's all we're going to discuss today. Other guides and papers you're welcome to read after the class. You're also welcome to share them with your husbands so that they can benefit and prepare for Pesach as well. There is also a guide how to conduct the Seder in your folders. Now, first we're going to speak about how to clean your house for Pesach, how to clean your dishes, how to kosher your dishes. Then we're going to speak about the products, which products are good for Passover. And then we will speak about the Seder, the minimum amount and the kind of matzah, the wine and the maror, and the basic requirements for the Seder. So with cleaning the house and the dishes, if a person is able to purchase Passover dishes, that's of course the easiest and the best. And you can either designate a closet and keep that closet for Passover. This way you don't have to take out everyday dishes and put the Passover. You don't have to clean anything. You just put a tape over your regular closets and you open your Pesach closets and everything is ready. If you don't have space in your kitchen, you can have a few boxes, and those boxes you can either store in the garage, in the basement, or somewhere in the lower cabinets on the kitchen or on top of all the cabinets. But if you have Passover dishes, then all you need to do is pack your regular dishes away, empty one closet for your Passover dishes, open your boxes, put them in, and that's it. You don't have to kosher anything. If a person cannot purchase separate Passover dishes and pots, then that's what we're going to learn today, how to kosher your existing utensils. So let's go in the order that it's written. First of all, we have to remember that there are two areas in the house with two separate laws. One is the kitchen, that is where we eat, and the other is the rest of the house. The dining room, the table may be the same as the kitchen. What's the difference? The areas of the house where we eat are more important because we're dealing with food that is forbidden. Chametz is forbidden on Pesach, even a crumb to eat. And therefore, any place where you are eating or preparing food, kitchen or the dining room, has to be perfectly clean, no chametz on any surface, so that you don't, by accident, put it in your mouth. On the other hand, areas in the house where we don't eat, like the bedrooms, bathrooms, hallways, the basement, the attic, the garage, all these areas require a different kind of cleaning, and that is because we are not allowed to possess chametz, but that prohibition only begins when you have a piece that is the size of an olive, what's called a kezayit. So anything that is less than that is not a problem. As long as you're not eating it, it's not prohibited, which means if you might have crumbs under your bed, in the closets, your bedroom closets, your children's knapsacks, you took out the main food, all the packages and all the cookies, and if there are a little bit crumbs, you don't have to worry about it because you're not going to eat it, and most likely your children don't have school on Passover anyway, so just put it away and don't worry about it. When you open your drawers in your bedroom, for example, you don't have to vacuum them, you don't have to wipe them because you're not eating there. All you're looking for is the actual pieces of chametz packages. Sometimes we took away a cookie from our child because it was too late at night and we didn't want to go to the kitchen, so we put it in our closet. And we have to check for that. Or we wanted to eat it ourselves, that the children shouldn't see, and we forgot about it. So such things you have to look for, but anything less than an olive, or let's say a size of a Cheerio, you don't have to worry about. Therefore, the rest of the house should be very quick. You go through your rooms, you look for any food, and you bring it to the kitchen. Now the bedroom is clean. You go to the bathroom, usually there is no food in the bathroom. If there might be, some people keep the ethyl alcohol, the vodka or spirit. If you have that, so that is chametz, so you put that away. You can sell it together with the rest of the chametz. Yes, ethyl alcohol, ethanol, ethanol, yes. The regular alcohol that we drink, all the other kinds of alcohol are not edible, and therefore they're not chametz, which means if you have rubbing alcohol is not ethanol, it's isopropyl alcohol, and therefore it's not chametz, it's not edible, you can leave it. All the cleaning agents, they are not chametz, and they're permissible. Anything that is not food, like soap, detergent, shampoo, bleach, ammonia, all that is not chametz. Even toothpaste and mouthwash. What about? Yeah, so you have to look at, there are some products that are natural, organic, and they may even claim that they don't have any poisons in there. So if you have such a product and you are concerned that perhaps it may actually be edible, then don't use it on Passover. Sell it together with the rest of your chametz, and the rest is okay. Anything that has any preservative, any perfume or any chemical that we cannot eat automatically makes the whole thing inedible, which means even if it has wheat and oats and barley extract, but since it also has poison in there, then the whole thing becomes not food and therefore permissible. So you go to the bathroom and you look quickly. The main thing to take out is if you put anything that is made out of vodka or pure alcohol, spirit, ethanol. Sometimes people make their own homemade remedies. So those are chametz, those you have to remove. Anything else, most things that are commercially made, they're not chametz, you can just keep them. Yes. Ethanol is usually chametz. It can be made from corn or potatoes. That's why we have vodka that is kosher for Passover. Vodka that's made from potatoes or anything other than wheat or barley is not a problem. But since we don't know, unless it says potato or sugar, molasses, if it's not made out of one of the 5 grains, it's okay. But if you don't know, then we consider it chametz. Whether it's beer, vodka, whiskey, all these things are chametz. But other than that, in your bedrooms and in your bathrooms, you're probably not going to have any chametz. So the rest of the house should take you maybe half an hour, 1 hour, just to open every drawer, every closet, check the pockets, the knapsacks of your children, and that's it. The majority of your time is going to be spent in the kitchen. Yes.
I have a question. The issue is more like candies, like that children put all over the place. Lollipops. Like, how do I go about finding all of the lollipops and all the candies that we have if I don't go through every little crevice?
So it's true that with children you can take chances and they can put food everywhere. But that's why if you have older children, you can assign each child to do a search for his room. And you can also tell your children that any candy you'll find in their room, you'll confiscate. And if they want to keep it, they should find it themselves, and then they'll be able to sell it, and they'll get it after Passover. This way they'll be interested and they'll do the search for you. And then you'll just go and just make sure. Also keep in mind that most likely all the lollipops and candy is probably not chametz anyway. So you don't have to worry too much about it. What you have to worry about are wafers and cookies and little candy bars, which might have wafers in them. But regular little candy and jelly and lollipops, usually they're not chametz. We don't eat them on Pesach without hashgacha, but if by mistake you miss them, it's okay. Yes.
Honestly, don't own, they're not like your possession, they're your parents, and you don't want to like overwhelm them. What do you do? And then 2, like,
yes.
And then the second question is the selling of chametz. It like when I brought it up to my parents, or I tried to explain it, I think they think that actually someone's going to come. And
okay, I'm going to explain how the sale of chametz works. As far as if you live in a place where there are people who either not Jewish or they're Jewish but they don't keep it, so you're only responsible for what's yours. If you can gently explain to them and encourage them to keep it, of course you're supposed to. But if they're not listening, or if there's tension and then you don't have a way to explain to them, then it's not your responsibility. Which means, unfortunately, we witness it that not every Jew is, as of yet, observant, but we try. But at the end of the day, we are not responsible for someone else's mistakes, and therefore, Hashem judges people, and this is important to know. That's why I'm spending time on this. Hashem judges each person according to their level of understanding and their knowledge. If a person is ignorant, he's not aware, so their responsibility, their level of responsibility is less. And therefore, we may feel bad for our parents, grandparents, our cousins, and people that might not keep the law, and we might feel bad that they're going to burn and get numb, but we don't have to worry so much. If they didn't learn, if they don't know that God exists, if they don't know the laws of the Torah, there will certainly be responsibility, but it's not as severe as for people who learned and they understand and they, for some reason, laziness or other, decide not to do it. So again, you just have to make sure that on Passover, you don't eat chametz. Whatever happens around you that's not yours is not your problem. Yeah. Don't make sure you don't possess chametz. Any chametz that's yours, you don't possess it, and you don't eat it. And then, as much as possible, encourage others also not to eat. Again, your chametz you have to clean. If it's not yours, it's not your responsibility. Of course, you have to be extra careful because there's chametz around you, so you have to be careful not to eat it. But you're not going to be responsible because it's not yours. Just like we go to a store and let's say key food, and there is chametz over there. We're not responsible for it because it doesn't belong to us. Now, no. Anything that's not edible is not chametz. Since mouthwash and toothpaste is not edible, it's permissible. If you're careful to keep your products clean, then you don't have to open a new package. The toothbrush is recommended because you take off food from your mouth, but toothpaste and mouthwash you don't have to change. Okay, now let's focus on the kitchen because the rest of the house is easy. Just remove the actual food and you're okay. In the kitchen, you have to be careful two things. Number one, we have a lot of food. So you have to isolate the food, the chametz, and if you cannot get rid of it before Passover, you have to sell it. You can still keep it in your house, but it has to be out of sight, and especially that your children shouldn't be able to reach it. Even if you know it's Passover and you're not going to eat it, but they don't know, and they might open. And even if they see tape, they might take it off. So you have to make sure it's child-proof, because it has happened before that children open it up, and then they open the package, and then they go around the house eating chametz, and then you have to clean all over again. Whether it's before Pesach or on Pesach, it's not something you want to deal with. So once you put away all your food, you're done with that. Now you have to clean. And it's a little bit more difficult than what I'm explaining because you have to do both at the same time. Children still need to eat. You need to eat. Your husband needs to eat. And so you keep your chametz till the last moment, which is the morning of the night of Pesach, which means this year, Wednesday morning, until Wednesday morning around 10 a.m., you can eat chametz, and that makes it difficult. So some people choose to stop eating chametz the day before, and they buy for their children egg matzah or regular matzah. For children, it's fine. And they buy other foods, whether they cook potatoes and meat and fish and eggs extra, so that the children don't need to eat chametz for the last day or two. And that helps greatly. And if the whole family can switch from chametz to Pesach food for the last couple of days, that will help you a lot. You'll put all your food away, all your pots away, you'll kosher everything, clean everything, and you'll be only focusing on actually preparing for Pesach and not trying to watch your children and watch chametz. So let's focus on the kitchen. The kitchen, the area that we are dealing with is what you are going to use on Passover, the counter, the table, the oven, the stove, maybe the microwave, and your utensils that have been used previously for chametz. Again, if you have a new set of dishes, it's easy. Then you just cover your table with a new tablecloth, clean your counter with soap, kosher your oven, and you're basically set.
We need to cover the, because to be honest.
Yes, we are going to cover everything.
Okay.
Don't worry. If there are any questions afterwards, you're welcome to ask. Now, yeah, gluten-free chametz throughout the year. That's good. I mean, that you have less to clean. So you have to know yourself what your regular diet is. If there is anything that is made out of oats, rye, spelt, barley, and wheat. So only oats. Oats is chametz as well. So if you have anything that is made out of oats, you have the same problem because it is chametz. You're eating oat matzah. Yes, you're going to be eating oat matzah for Pesach. And yeah, by the way, if a person doesn't need to eat oats on Pesach, oat matzah, it's not recommended. But if a person needs to, they buy oat matzah and they just eat the minimum. So again, what we need to learn is how to kosher our utensils and appliances for Passover. Let's go through them. First, anything that you're not using for Passover, don't bother cleaning. Close it and sell it. And people ask, but aren't they going to become non-Jewish, and then I have to put them in the mikveh again? And the answer is no, because the rabbi who sells it, he knows about it as well. So he's not going to sell your dishes. He's only going to sell chametz that is stuck to the dishes, any chametz that you're not aware of. So therefore, any closets that you don't need, close them, stuff them with food and utensils that you're not planning to use on Pesach, and sell them. Limit your work. If you only need one closet for food and one closet for utensils, so prepare just one closet, wash one closet, and that's it. Ignore the rest of the kitchen, sell the rest of the kitchen. Now let's go to the next topic: towels, tablecloths, and linen. Anything that can go to the washing machine with detergent, once it's washed, it becomes kosher for Passover. So you don't need new towels and new tablecloth for Pesach. Just wash your old ones and you can use them. Next, tablecloth, linen, hand towels, bath towels, shmatas, trapki, all these things, you can just wash them just for cleanliness. They get dirty, you wash them, that's it. You don't need to do anything special. Once it's clean, it's good. Next, let's go to refrigerator. Refrigerator, all you need to do is just wipe it with a soapy sponge, and that's it. You don't need to cover it. And if you have food that is chametz and you still want to keep it, designate a shelf or a shelf on the door, put it in a plastic bag, cover it, write on it that it's chametz, it's sold, and you can keep it in the refrigerator. Same with the freezer. Empty everything, defrost it, wash the freezer with soapy sponge, and then if you have anything that is chametz and needs to be kept in the freezer, put it in a separate bag, mark it, put it in the corner, and you can use the rest of the freezer. No, you don't need to cover anything. Yeah. Yes, because you're selling it, just make sure it doesn't get mixed with your food, so just put it in a plastic bag. Yes, that's the ideal. If you can throw all your chametz away or eat it or give it away, that is, yes, that is ideal. If for some reason you cannot get rid of all the chametz, we'll speak about how to sell it. Yes, anything that makes food inedible is good. Clorox wipes or spray that makes it inedible, and then you just wipe it, is good. Same idea is for children's clothing. If you're worried about their pockets, all their pants and jackets and shirts, you don't have to go and fish out all the crumbs from their pockets. Just put them in the washing machine, wash them, and they become kosher for Passover. If you give your jackets, your pants, your suits to cleaners, when they come back, they become kosher for Passover. You don't have to check the pockets. And the same even with knapsacks. Anything that you can put in the washing machine and you wash, after it comes out, it becomes kosher for Passover. Now, next is yes. Next, vacuum cleaner. After you finish your last chametz vacuum, it's a good idea to take take out the bag and to throw it out before Passover. Don't keep it in your house on Passover, because we're concerned perhaps you collected chametz and all the cookies and crumbs all over, and now your vacuum cleaner bag maybe has a lot of chametz. Next, similar idea with the garbage can. Garbage can, even though your chametz is already in the garbage, but it still belongs to you, unless you made it inedible. But if it's in a whole form, it will still be a problem. And therefore, if you have a garbage bag or garbage can, you have to empty it before Passover, and don't keep it on your property. Either put it in a public domain, public dumpster, or if you live in a building, just drop it down the chute, and this way you make sure it's not in your possession. Balcony is yours, yes, because it's your. There is not going to help unless you sell it. If you whatever chametz you sell, you can keep it anywhere you want. But since we're not planning to sell our garbage, therefore we have to make sure we take it out of our property. Garbage bag. The garbage can you just have to clean, because sometimes the bag spills, and then you have pieces of chametz on the bottom, so you have to clean that out as well. Yes, empty the garbage or the garbage bag, throw it out. Right. Now, in your dining room, you might have chametz in the form of whiskey or vodka in the glass closet. So that also you have to sell, and preferably it shouldn't be visible, because you might drink it, or just that you and your children should be aware that now it's Passover, it's different. We don't drink this. So either collect put it in a plastic bag, and you can leave it in there, but it should be wrapped in a plastic bag. And you sell it. Yes, you include it together with your. You don't have to throw it out unless you can. If you can throw your chametz out, that's the best. If you cannot, then you sell it. Yes. Now we're on page R9. We go through the appliances. Stovetop. If you have a gas stovetop, you have three options. Either you put the grates into a self-cleaning oven. Anything that goes into self-cleaning oven becomes kosher. Second option is you take a piece of aluminum foil like this sheet of paper, flat. You put it up. You put it over the burner, and you turn the burner on the highest for 2 minutes, and that's it. You turn it off. Then you move it to the next burner. 2 minutes, and like this, all 4 or 5 if you have. One at a time on the highest for 2 minutes, and that's it. That's the second option. And the third option is to clean it and then put it in the sink and then pour boiling water on it. Again, you can choose whichever one you want, whatever you prefer. Now, the actual surface of the oven, of course, you have to, the stove top, you have to clean, make sure there is no food residue, wash it with soap. However, we treat the surface of the stove top as not kosher, because not only chametz falls on it, but also meat falls on it and milk falls on it. So you have meat and milk and chametz all there. So any food that falls on it, we don't eat unless it's cold. But once you wash it with soap, it's okay that it's there. You don't have to cover it. If you want to cover it just for cleanliness, you can, but it's not required. If hot food falls on a surface of the stovetop, then we consider it not kosher, because both milk and meat fall there. And on Pesach, we have a problem with chametz, so we have a triple problem. And therefore, the hot food we consider not kosher. Next is, what if you have electric stove? The knobs, if you can just wipe them with soapy sponge, that's it. No. If you have electric stove top, all you need to do is just turn it on highest. Once it gets red hot, it burns everything by itself and it's fine. If your stove top has a glass top, then all you need to do is wash it with soapy sponge. For Sephardim, glass doesn't absorb, and therefore glass doesn't become not kosher. Yeah, you turn it on, and then on top of the burner you have grates, the black piece, the metal that you put your pot on. Now we go to electric warming tray, what we call plata or hot plate, that we use on Shabbat. So those things are usually dirty. Even if you usually throughout the year cover them with aluminum foil, it gets dirty. So you have to wash it well with soap and then cover it with a fresh layer of aluminum foil, and that's it. And if you see that aluminum foil rips, then you have to just cover it again. Same idea with the blech. If you have the metal sheet that you cover your stove top on Shabbat, you have to wash it with soap and cover it with a fresh layer of aluminum foil. Next is the dishwasher. The dishwasher, all you need to do is make sure there is no food inside and run it on an empty cycle with hot water and the detergent. The next is the sink. Yes. As long as there's no food there, right? You just run one empty cycle, and like we said, with soap, everything is going to be good. And again, because we use dishwasher only for dishes, not for actual food, and whenever we use it for dishes, there is soap in it, so it automatically makes everything inedible. So next is the sink. Ashkenazim are generally more strict. We're talking about Sephardim. For Sephardim, all these things were lenient. Next is the sink. We wash the sink with, again, soap and sponge, and afterwards we pour boiling water on the bottom of it. If you want to pour it on the sides as well, that's good, but the main thing is the bottom, because that's where we actually put the dishes on. And that's it. That's all for the sink. So since we don't use it for food, you technically don't have to wait 24 hours to kosher the sink. If you can, it's a benefit to cover those opinions. But when we say that you have to wait 24 hours for utensils or any appliances, what we mean is that you don't use these dishes or appliances with hot food, which means you can still use the sink to wash your hands, and you can even use it to wash your dishes. Just don't use hot water. Don't pour your noodle soup into your sink for 24 hours. But you can still use the sink. So many people do it over Shabbat, because Shabbat, we don't use hot water, or at least we don't pour hot things into the sink. This way, Motzei Shabbat, after Shabbat, you can already kosher your sink, and you can kosher all your utensils and dishes because you didn't use them for 24 hours. You have a question?
What about the inside? Or
The filter, it's good to, the mesh, it's good to replace for Pesach. And that's something that's small, you can buy, and you can keep it for next Pesach.
of the gravy?
The mesh that you use to catch the food.
There's a rack on the side.
Oh, the faucet. Yeah, the faucet, we don't need to do anything except maybe just wipe it with a soapy sponge. That's for Ashkenazim. Yes, yes. We don't have to do it. Again, we use our logic that I don't put food onto my faucet, into my faucet. I don't eat with my faucet. And therefore, there's no chametz there anyway. And even if there was, it was washed out, and it's not boiling hot water. And so everything is okay. Yeah, yes, but again, as long as you're not using hot chametz directly in the sink usually doesn't cause issues, which means we use the sink for dishes and pots. You're not going to take a hot piece of meat and put it in the sink. You're not going to take your matzah and put it in the sink, or your hot bread. So the only problem is that we don't want our dishes to touch the actual residue of chametz. For that, it's enough to wash it with soap and sponge. We go an extra step, and we also pour boiling water on it. Now, yes. So if you have a sink rack, right, at the bottom of the sink, same idea, you can wash it with soapy sponge and pour boiling water on it. Or again, you can buy a separate grate for the bottom of your sink just for Passover. Yes, but usually people don't put food in the sink. If you do, it's maybe vegetables to wash them. Yeah, but that's leftover food. That's already garbage. You're not worried about it. Now, next is counters. Counters, the same idea as with the sink. If you usually don't put hot food directly on the counter, then all you need to do is wash it with soapy sponge. If your counter can handle it and you want to pour boiling water on it like marble, that's a good idea. And that's it. We don't need to cover counters. If your counter cannot handle boiling water, if it's formica, then just make sure you don't put hot food directly on your counter.
Now, what about quartz?
What about same as marble?
So you
Just
pour
pour
hot
hot
and then
water.
cover it with
Yes, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. Just for variety, your house is gonna look different. You feel like vacation, but you don't have to. Yeah, not a plate. Let's say you take your steak and you put it directly on the counter. Without a plate, without a cutting board, let's say, as long as you're not doing it. That's all we're concerned, that we shouldn't put our food, our hot food, directly on the counter because we don't know what was there before. Just with soap and sponge. That's it. Even if you have formica, all you need to do is clean it with soap and sponge, and keep in mind not to put hot food on it on Pesach. Use a plate, use cutting board, and that's it. Right. Again, laws of kashrut are logical. We have food that's not kosher, and we want to get rid of it. We have kosher food. We don't want it to come into contact with something not kosher. Once we make the surface clean and we make it inedible by putting soap or detergent on it or bleach, whatever you use, there is no concern that our food is going to become not kosher. We got rid of all the crumbs of chametz by sweeping it, by washing it with soap. Now there is no chametz. The only concern is the absorption. The absorption can only come with heat. So if you put hot food on your counter, then you have to be concerned. But if it's cold, let's say you want to cut vegetables on your counter, even if you put your matzah on the counter, but since it's dry and cold, nothing happens because there is no food there, and you cannot absorb from a surface unless you have heat. Okay, so counters, all you need to do is clean with soap and either pour boiling water, and then you can put food on it directly. And if you don't pour boiling water, don't put food on it directly, but use plates or cutting boards. Yes. I don't recommend aluminum foil because just hard to deal with. It rips and makes a mess. Yeah, plastic covers are easy. Some people buy plastic tablecloths, thick ones, and you cut it according to size, and you use them. And those you can even reuse for the next year if you want. You can get white. This way it makes the house look clean and bright, or any color. And then you can tape them so that they don't move around. But again, it's not required. Next is hot water urn. If you kept it clean, whether it is the urn that we use for Shabbat or the kettle that we use every day, as long as you used it only for hot water, there was no chametz in it. So it's clean. All you need to do is just maybe wash it on the outside, rinse it on the inside, and it's okay. On the outside with soap, because sometimes you touch it with the dirty hands, and inside just with water, because you don't put anything besides water in it anyway, and therefore it's kosher anyway. The only problem is sometimes people put their bread on top of the urn on Shabbat to warm up, and then that bread can absorbs into it, and sometimes it even gets stuck to it. So then such an urn don't use. But if you know that you didn't warm up your bread directly on your urn, you can use that urn on Shabbat, just wash it. What about? The cover? The cover? So again, if you think that you put bread on it. If you put hot bread on it, then you can't really kosher it unless you burn it, because there was no liquid. Usually we kosher the way it was used. If you use it with water, then you boil it. But if you have the hot water urn and you put directly on the cover your bread, so it's without liquid. So then the only way to kosher it is with fire, and it may ruin it. Okay, now on page R10, guide for utensils. What do you do with the utensils? If they are stainless steel, we can kosher them. If they are plastic or non-stick, we don't kosher them. Same with porcelain. So anything that is made of stainless steel, you wash it, you wait 24 hours since the last time it was used for hot, and then you boil it. How do you boil it? If they are small utensils, you take the largest pot that you have, you fill it, let's say, halfway with water, and when it's boiling, you drop your utensils in it. All your forks, all your spoons, all your knives, as well as metal dishes, bowls, all of it you can dump into one pot. Afterwards, you take them out and rinse in cold water, and that's it. You don't need to. It's good to put the detergent a little bit, just to take out all the taste even better. Yes.
For make things. I just like plastic.
Yes. Anything that is disposable, paper plates and plastic plates, spoons, forks, they're all kosher. They don't need Pesach hashgacha. If you're in a place where cannot be koshered, just buy disposables, and that's it. Yeah, that includes aluminum foil pans and everything like that, and hot cups. Everything is okay. Doesn't need hashgacha. So, yeah. Yeah, if a knife or any other utensil has a handle that is not stainless steel, so then you can still wash the whole thing with soap very well, and you can boil the metal part. But what you have to be concerned about is the place where they connect. That's usually where the dirt gets stuck. So make sure that you put something that is very strong detergent over there, to that if there is any food, it will become inedible. Yeah. Yes, even if you didn't use something for a long time, you still need to kosher it. But it's it's easy to kosher knives. All you have to do is just stick them into. You can even, and the pot that you boil in can be any pot that you want, as long as it's clean. So you especially if you add a little bit of detergent to your pot, then you can for sure use any pot you want to boil utensils. Yes. No, because again, the water that you're going to be boiling is clean water, and it stays clean. We're putting our Pesach dishes in there. When they come out, they're clean. The water stays clean as well. You have to wait 24 hours since the last time you used them for hot food, and that is for all the dishes, silverware, and pots. If you have a small pot that can fit in a big pot, so you can boil the small pot inside the big pot. But if your pot doesn't fit anywhere, then you have to kosher it by itself. You fill it up with water till the top, and then as the water boils, you either drop something in so that the water spills over, or you just shake it. Be careful with gloves. You shake it a little bit so that the water can spill over the rim. And you also have to take the covers, the lids of all the pots, clean them well, especially if they're made from glass and metal, then there may be dirt in between. Clean them well, and then you have to dip them in boiling water sideways, and then rotate them so that every part of it is boiled. Now, glass. For Sephardim, glass is the easiest object because we consider it non-absorbent, and therefore it never becomes not kosher. All you have to do is wash it with soap, and you can use it for Passover. Yes. Plastic you can only use for something that's not hot, because you cannot kosher it. And therefore, let's say you have Pyrex bowls or containers with their glass, but the covers are plastic. So the actual containers you can use with hot. You can put them in the microwave, you can put them in the oven. You can pour hot food in it just by washing them with soap. They're kosher, but the plastic covers don't use until the food cools down. Don't put the container together with a plastic cover into the microwave. Put it by itself, maybe cover it with a napkin or paper plate. And to keep the remainder in the refrigerator, you can use your regular covers, but after the food cools down. Now, there are some things that we cannot kosher with fire, as I with water, but rather with fire, as I explained. Things that are used dry on dry, like shish kebab sticks, or if you have a grill, the grate of the grill, you cannot boil it. You have to burn it with fire. And you have two options. Either you put them into a self-cleaning oven. Once you put it in the self-cleaning oven, everything becomes kosher. Or you have to put coals on the floor, let's say, burn them, and then put your grate on top, and then cover them with coals, which is not recommended. Either get separate Pesach grate and sticks, or put them into the self-cleaning oven. The same idea is with the oven. The oven needs to be koshered by burning it. Now, if you have self-cleaning oven, you turn it on self-cleaning cycle, put anything else you need to kosher inside, and it's going to be kosher. If you don't have self-cleaning oven, then you have to actually clean it. Because it doesn't burn it completely, you have to help it by cleaning any food residue with a good detergent on the bottom, the walls, and especially the door, because the door usually gets dirty and the heat of the oven doesn't reach it. And if you're using for Passover, right? Any utensil that you're not using for Passover, don't clean. If you're not planning to use your oven on Passover, don't clean it. If you're not planning to use your microwave on Passover, don't clean it. Just cover it, tape it, and sell it. So after cleaning the oven very well with detergent, you set it on the highest temperature for 1 hour, and it can be used afterwards for Pesach. Now, some people have astringency. If they don't have self-cleaning oven, they do this process, and then they try to bake and cook everything before Pesach. This way, the laws are lenient, because before Passover, any food that chametz got into, it can still be kosher if you have 60 times more food than chametz. And we have a rule that once something is nullified, you have 60 times kosher food and 1 chametz or non-kosher food, the kosher food nullifies the non-kosher food and becomes edible, the whole mixture. Then when Passover comes and chametz is not allowed, it still stays kosher. This is not true for Ashkenazim, but for Sephardim, before Passover, whatever you cook before Passover, whatever you buy before Passover is more lenient. That is why when we speak about the food for Passover, you will see that Sephardim are much more lenient about what kind of foods they can eat on Pesach. As long as it doesn't have chametz, and you know it doesn't have any chametz ingredients, you buy it before Passover, and it's good because even if the equipment was used, there was chametz, but whatever absorption came in, it became nullified. And even if a crumb fell in, it became nullified. Just to make this idea understandable, therefore, if you have an opportunity, if you don't have self-cleaning oven, to bake things before Passover, it's going to be considered better, more kosher than baking it on Passover. But if you didn't have ability to bake it before Passover, and you followed one of these two ways, either self-cleaning oven or cleaning it and then sending it for 1 hour, it is permitted to use it on Passover as well. Yes. The racks, similar idea to the counter and the sink, since we don't put food directly on it, or at least on Passover don't, then it's okay, right? You can clean them to the best of your ability, and then always put food in a pan. This way, the food doesn't touch the racks. You can, but it's not necessary. Once you clean it with a good dishwasher and you see they're clean, it's good. Baking sheets, you cannot be koshered. You have to buy new ones for Passover, or use disposable ones. And that's again because when you bake, it's dry on dry, and then unless your baking sheets can handle self-cleaning oven heat, which usually they can't because they're non-stick, and so they cannot handle more than 500 degrees. And the self-cleaning oven goes to 700, they're going to get damaged. Yes, yes. Disposable aluminum pans, yes. Because regular pans that you put chametz on, your bread and your cookies, you cannot kosher them. Those you have to put away and sell. The idea of the self-cleaning oven is that once it reaches the 700-degree temperature, it will burn everything. So you have to give it enough time so that it reaches that temperature. It takes a long time for it to reach it. It may take an hour. So you have to make sure it hits the highest temperature. And if you cannot wait longer, then it would be okay. So again, the regular self-cleaning cycle is about 4 hours. If you cannot wait so long, if you wait 3 hours or at least 2 hours, it's okay.
What is this odor when you put on the self-cleaning oven?
That's a sign. That's a sign that it is burning your chametz. That's the point. So you have to, before you do it, you have to open your windows. Sometimes it's the chemicals that you washed it with. Sometimes the food that dropped in, you don't see it, but it may be somewhere and it's burning. So make sure when you use self-cleaning oven, you open your windows and turn the fan on, and you, if you can, close the door. If you don't have a door, put a plastic tablecloth, tape it, because the smell is going to go into the rest of your home. Okay. And then on page R11, we have all the things that you don't need to kosher. You just need to wash it with soap. Refrigerator and freezer, cabinets, garbage can, glass, kiddush cups. The idea is that anything you don't use for hot, you don't need to kosher it. All you need to do is wash it. The kiddush cup we use usually just for wine or grape juice, and therefore just washing it is enough.
With all the plates and spoons and...
That's fine. That's fine. Kiddush cup? Yeah, just wash it. Just wash it, yeah. Toothbrush also? Yeah, it doesn't matter because it was cold. Toothbrush, it's better to get a new one. If you can't, you're stuck, you can wash it with soap and you can use it. Also, just wash it. Yeah, retainer, fake teeth, anything like that, wash it. Chairs is a good idea if you can, so that if something falls on it, you can eat it. Otherwise, you're always concerned, especially cloth chairs. You can't really get rid of all the crumbs there. And so some people cover them. They have special covers, whether plastic or like they do in restaurants with cloth, or wash it with soap if it can be washed. Only if you want to eat food that falls on it. Otherwise, you don't have to. For example, if you have children and they have high chair and the table, the plastic table for them, same idea, just wash it with soap. The children's table, you don't have to kosher because you don't put hot food for them. You put food for them that they shouldn't burn. And therefore, just wash it with soap, their chair and their tray, and it's good. Yes, for regular adults, only if you're planning to eat the food that falls on it. Otherwise, we have to be concerned that if food falls on the floor on Passover, the floor might have crumbs. We don't have to wash the carpet with carpet cleaner before Passover. You can, if you did, then it's good, but if not, just don't eat from it. And the same for chairs. If your chairs were not washed, there might be chametz crumbs on it, and therefore if food falls on it, don't eat it. Otherwise, you don't have to wash it. Same for dentures and salt shakers and other things that you use for cold things. All you need to do is wash it with soap, like sugar container, salt container, spices container, anything like that. Just wash it with soap and you can use it. Now, spices that you used during the year and they're kosher for Pesach, you have to make your own decision if you kept them clean throughout the year. I generally don't recommend, because when you bake, or especially if you use the mixer, flour flies all over. And if anything is on the counter, it's going to be covered with flour. And if any of your spices are within reach of that flying flour, it's going to be a problem as well. But if you know that you open it with clean hands, you sprinkle it and you close it and you put it away and it's always clean, then it's good. Yeah, but it's only not a good idea, but it's not forbidden. Okay, now microwave. If you need to use a microwave for Passover, you can kosher it by washing it very well. And it's difficult to wash a microwave because things fly when they get hot in the microwave and they get stuck to all the possible surfaces. Very difficult to clean, but if you decide to clean it, you have to make sure you clean the top, the bottom, under the plate, all the sides, the vent, the door very well. And afterward, all with soap. And afterwards, you place a container, a glass container with water, preferably hot so that it doesn't take so much time. You turn the microwave on for a few minutes. You wait until the water bubbles and steams the entire microwave. Every microwave is different, and therefore you just have to sit and watch. When it becomes full of steam, then it's good. An alternative is to put your food in a plastic bag, or you put your container in a bag and you can warm it up like that. For example, if you're visiting a hotel, you can put your container into a plastic bag, or if it's a closed container, even into a paper bag, and put it in the microwave, and warm it up like that. Now, if you have any questions about koshering, you can ask at this time, and then we're going to go to food and supplements. Yes.
About
It's enough just to clean it, but it's a good idea if you have closets above your counter where you keep a lot of food and things might fall down. There is a slit between the two doors and between the door and the closet. If you have crumbs, sometimes things can drop down and you don't want that to happen. So it's a good idea to cover the bottom of the closets so that things don't fall onto your Pesach counter. Yes, the vent is good to use because it creates a flow of air away from you. Those things is better not to clean. Electrical grill, usually they are non-stick. Anything non-stick we don't clean. An air fryer with it has too many things in there that you cannot get access to. The same idea with toaster oven, we don't kosher. It's not like a full-size oven which you can clean and set to a high temperature. Toaster oven will not heat up to such a degree. So no toaster oven. Food processor, if you used it with chametz, it's not recommended because it's very hard to clean it between the attached pieces. Same idea with the mixer that you use to make challah dough, bread, cookies, not recommended to kosher. Even the hand mixer, even though it's just two metal pieces, but as we said, flour flies up into the body of the mixer, and then on Pesach it can fall down as well. Yes. Are you using it on Pesach? So just sell it. Anything that you're not using on Pesach, if you have a second house, a summer house, or even within your house, you have areas that you're not using, just sell them. If you have, let's say, 2 microwaves, one for meat, one for dairy, and you think, on Passover, let's say, I'm not going to use dairy because I'm not making pizza. So I'm not going to kosher the dairy one. I'm just going to close it and sell it. I'm just going to kosher the meaty one. And so on and so forth. If you don't need to use that appliance or that utensil, don't kosher it. Yes, hand mixer, food processor, if it was not used for chametz, just wash it. Yes. Same idea with meat grinder. If you only use it for meat, just wash it. But if you used it for meat together with onions and bread, then it's a problem. Don't use it on Passover because it's very hard to get into all the deep parts of the meat grinder and to remove the chametz. Yes. So if someone has a non-Jew living with them or bringing food, they have to instruct them that they should keep their food separate. They can still bring the food. They can put it in the fridge, but in a plastic bag. And if they want to heat it up, preferably they shouldn't heat it up by you. If they must, you can designate whatever the microwave is that you're not going to kosher for Passover. And you can even tell them, this microwave is going to be yours. I'm giving it to you as a gift for the entire Passover. You can use it. It's not mine. This way, you don't have to clean it. And if they use it, it's not your problem. Only if they wrap it in plastic. If you wrap, just like you can wrap kosher food and warm it up in a non-kosher microwave, so too, if a non-Jew wants to warm up non-kosher food in your microwave, as long as they put it in a plastic bag, they can use it.
It's very easy. Wiping it down and then also putting hot water with soap in it.
Yes, but it's not so easy to remove all the food residue and scrape it and wash it. We've tried it. We did it once, and it took us a long time to remove all the food residue from the microwave. But if you have to do it, you do it. Yes. Now let's continue to the next topic, and we're gonna speak about medicine, and then we're gonna go to Passover food. On the same page, R11, all pill and tablet medications that you swallow are okay. You don't need to look for kosher sign on things like Tylenol, ibuprofen, Advil, antibiotics. Anything that you swallow and doesn't have taste, meaning you don't chew it, pill or tablet, is okay. And the reason for that is, first of all, it doesn't have taste. Second of all, you're not chewing it. You're swallowing it, which is not considered the normal way of eating. And therefore, we're more lenient. And third of all, you are taking it for an existing condition as a medicine, and therefore it's considered medicine, not food. As opposed to vitamins or food supplements, they are considered part of our diet, part of our food, and therefore vitamins and food supplements need to be kosher during the year, and they need to be kosher on Passover. So the general guideline for vitamins is that at least they have to be gluten-free, and look at the ingredients, that they shouldn't have any ingredients made out of the 5 grains. Yes. Most of it is usually okay. There are also lists, and one of the pages in your folder is a list of common medicines that are good for Passover. There are more extensive lists. And if a person is sick, and potentially it can be life-threatening, you don't have to worry about it, you give them. And children are in the category of dangerously sick people, meaning any disease that for an adult is considered a minor, for a child it's considered serious. So we don't play with that, and therefore if a child needs something, you give it to them. For pills, yes. Swallow pills and tablets, you don't have to check for kashrut. That is the same for Sephardim Ashkenazim. Now, liquid medicines and chewable medication that have taste, and on purpose they make it taste good, so it's like food, they need to be checked. They shouldn't have any alcohol, and they shouldn't have any ingredients of wheat starch, oats, and things like that. If you see any of the 5 grains, oats, barley, spelt, rye, and wheat, you cannot use it. Now, Ashkenazim have a bigger problem because they don't use corn as well. A lot of these medicines have corn starch. For Sephardim, it's not a problem. There are different customs. Some people don't eat corn, some people do. But as far as medicine is concerned, you don't have to worry about it as much because it is not chametz. If it really is, let's say, wheat starch, then it's chametz. Then you cannot eat it unless there's a threat to life. Whereas if it's just corn and your custom is not to eat corn and the person is sick, you can be lenient with them. Now, on the same page, there's instructions for selling chametz. The idea of selling chametz is, as we said, I'm only not allowed to possess chametz that's mine. If I have chametz that belongs to someone else, it's theirs, so it's not a problem. So we sell the chametz to a non-Jew, but you have to do it through a rabbi because it's complicated. What is considered a legal transaction? And therefore, we appoint someone to sell it for us. And you can sell it with any rabbi, any reliable rabbi, or even online. On the Emet website, we're going to post a link to Rabbi Yisraeli's sale of chametz, and you can click on it, you can fill it out and submit it. No, because I will have to give it to him anyway. Yeah, so You can go online, find anyone who sells chametz. You can sell it through them, or it's going to be on the Emet link. Chabad also, it's recommended, if possible, to use a Sephardi so that it follows our tradition. But if you're stuck and you can't, you can use any website. Now, you have to do it before 11 a.m. on Erev Pesach, which this year is Wednesday morning. You can eat chametz until 10 a.m. approximately, and you have to get rid of chametz by 11 a.m., which means the last sale of chametz is going to be around 11 a.m. Some people will sell earlier because if they have, let's say, property in Israel, they have to sell it already the night before. So some people sell chametz the night that we search for chametz, which is going to be Tuesday night. Some people wait until Wednesday morning, and you can still eat it, and you can still, if necessary, put more stuff into those closets that you're planning to sell. But once the chametz is sold, it's too late. Meaning, you can only fill out this document when the rabbi will be able to accept it and then give it to the non-Jew. Once the sale is done, you cannot retroactively sell your chametz. Not only that, after midday on Passover, and rabbinically, after, again, like I said, 11 o'clock, it is already forbidden to possess chametz, and because it's already a prohibition, you cannot sell it anymore. Then you just have to throw it out. So again, then you have to plan ahead and sell them. You have until Wednesday, 11 a.m. to fill out this form. You can fill it out earlier, and you know that I can still add things to the list until 11 a.m. Okay, now we are going to the next section. Throughout Pesach?
But I still want to sell it or something.
No, if you sell it, then you cannot use it. By using it, you're showing that it's still mine, and you're canceling the sale. So you have to choose. Am I going to use it? Yeah, so if it's theirs, it's their problem, unfortunately. Just wash it, and that's it. Right. You cannot sell what's not yours, and you cannot sell it if they're going to continue using it. Very good question. How specific you have to be when you sell chametz? Some require you to list all the places where chametz is going to be and what chametz you're actually selling. This is to make the transaction more real so that the non-Jew knows what he's buying and you know what you're selling. But you still have them in your possession, in your domain, but legally they belong to the non-Jew because he has the document. If he comes with that document to the court, he'll be able to force you to give it to him. So it's his. And it's only because after Pesach we buy it from him that is why, by the way, some people don't sell chametz because it doesn't feel real. You still have it. Even though legally, yes, you lock it up, you legally sell it, but it feels like you still have it. So that's why many people try to plan ahead, only buy what they'll be able to use until Passover, and whatever is left, a little bit, a box of cereal, or half a bag of flour, they just throw it out. Right. Nobody's going to do that. Yeah.
What if I forget something that's supposed for Passover in a drawer that I have just sold? Like I sold the chametz in this cabinet, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot.
So you can, if you sell, let's say, a room or a closet, and then you forget that you have something that's not chametz there. So first of all, if it's before 11 a.m., you can still take it because the chametz is not sold yet. If it's after that, then you can still take it because you only sold chametz. Unless, let's say, you're going away and you don't want to clean your house, so you want to sell the entire house and you rent him the rooms, so then you're actually renting him the rooms and you cannot come in. So then you have to specify that I'm only selling him the chametz and not the entire closet. Some people travel away, and therefore, instead of cleaning, they just sell the whole house. Not really, because then you are renting the entire house to him, and then you're trespassing. Unless you specify that I would like to visit to pick up things, and therefore I'm not selling, let's say, the hallway, and I'm not selling my bedroom, things like that. You can specify on the contract. Nobody is going to come in, but the rabbi is going to sell it so that legally it's going to be sold, but only for the duration of the Pesach. Okay, now the next page is rice. What rice can we eat on Pesach? Any rice that is not enriched. Not enriched means they didn't add vitamins to it, and therefore it's pure rice. Rice is not chametz. Ashkenazim don't eat rice. Some Sephardim don't eat rice, but Bukharians and majority of Sephardim do eat rice. And any rice that you look on the ingredients, it just says rice, doesn't list vitamins. You look at the nutrition column, it doesn't list any vitamins. It says 0, 0, 0. At least majority of them 0. You know that they didn't add vitamins. If they added vitamins, then you would see vitamin A and vitamin this and vitamin that. If you don't see vitamins in the ingredients and you don't see vitamins in the nutrition panel, and the name of rice doesn't say enriched, then you can assume that it's not enriched. A little bit, very little. No, most rice, if you notice, yeah, most of them are going to be 0. Maybe a little bit iron, maybe a little bit. But again, most rices that I checked, they all say 0. It's only the enriched rice that says vitamins.
So any rice that's enriched that has vitamins, can't eat it? Or
You shouldn't eat it. So now the common rice that we eat here in Queens is the kokuho rice, and that is okay. Both the yellow variety and the red packaging, they're both okay. Again, the same idea. If you have an open package of rice or anything, if you kept it clean, you can continue using it. So yes, usually most Bukharians use kokuho rice, and that's good. Jasmine rice is also good. They usually don't enrich jasmine rice. They don't enrich basmati rice. Those are okay. So just one more point. Sometimes rice says that it's kosher for Passover. It has a hashgacha. That all that means that it wasn't enriched, that they didn't add any chametz ingredients. But you still need to check. All rice you need to check so that there is no other grain in it, because we're concerned that in the process maybe other grains got into it. So with white rice, it's enough to check once. You check quickly. With brown rice, you have to check 3 times. And any other legumes, any other kitniyot, beans, peas, you have to check 3 times. Same for quinoa and same for buckwheat. If you're planning to use it, you have to check it a few times. Quinoa too. Yes, anything that you use must be checked. Rice is once, everything else 3 times. Buckwheat, probably you'll have to check more than 3 times, because every time you're going to find new things, because it's very hard to check, because it's brown and other grains are also brown. Yeah, you take them out, and you preferably should do it before Passover. If you decide to do it on Passover, if you're doing it on Chol HaMoed, it's not a problem. But if you're doing it on Yom Tov, then you can only do as much as you need to for that day. You cannot say, let's say I need 2 cups for today, and the next day I also need 2 cups. You cannot clean 4 cups. You have to clean 2 cups today and 2 cups tomorrow. You just throw it out. You flush it down the toilet.
So storing away the chametz with my lipstick chapsticks in addition?
Lipstick is also considered not chametz. Chapstick is also considered not chametz. If you use them, just look at it. Sometimes they have food residue stuck around it. If it's clean, then it's fine. Okay. Yes. If you go somewhere for Pesach, then just make sure you clean your bags, your pockets, and that's it. You don't have to clean your house. Yes, because Ashkenazim are more strict on Pesach. So if you go to Ashkenazim, then for sure it's good. For an Ashkenazi to go to Sephardi, it's more difficult because we eat certain things that they don't, and we clean in a more lenient way. So the original Bukharian custom is to only eat rice and not other kitniyot. But since the Sephardi custom, according to the Shulchan Aruch, is to allow all kitniyot, all beans and peas, when the Bukharian Jews came to Israel, they adopted that custom. And then those that are born here in America and they learn the Sephardi way, they also learn that kitniyot are permitted. And so in order that there shouldn't be a difference in the community, half of the community eats, half doesn't. So what is advised is that every Bukharian who wants to start eating kitniyot should just do hatarat nedarim and say that until now I kept this custom of not eating corn and peas, and from now on I want to cancel that custom and I want to follow regular Sephardi halacha. And we do that in Emet for the past few years. We did it, hatarat nedarim. Whenever we do classes like this, we get 3 rabbis and we do hatarat nedarim, and from then on you can eat chametz. I'm sorry, not chametz, kitniyot. Yes. How is it? How is? Who? I didn't hear you. Oh, no, corn is not chametz. Corn is kitniyot. But Ashkenazim accepted upon themselves not to eat anything that is grown next to wheat fields, so that wheat or barley doesn't get into that. And also they took upon themselves not to eat anything that is transported in the same utensils or bags as wheat. And also they took upon themselves, some of them, not to eat anything from which you can make flour and bread just like wheat. So you can make corn bread, you can make rice bread, rice flour, corn flour, so they don't use it. Some Sephardim also adopted these stringencies and they also don't use it. But overall, Sephardim are more lenient and they eat kitniyot. Because again, kitniyot is not one of the 5 grains, it's permitted. It's only a concern that maybe something got mixed with it, or because it looks like. And that's, by the way, why it's preferable for those that can handle it not to buy things on Passover that look like chametz, like cakes and cookies and pizza that are kosher for Passover, but it looks like chametz. Because first of all, it is difficult for children to differentiate, and the spirit of Passover is lost if we eat the same things as regular year. Buckwheat is kitniyot. Again, for those that keep kitniyot, quinoa is not. Ashkenazim also are allowed to eat quinoa. Sephardim, grechka, buckwheat is permitted, but again, it's very difficult to clean. You have to clean many times, and it's difficult on your eyes because it's brown and the grains are brown, and it's very dirty. It has a lot of foreign material in there. Better not to clean. This way, next time you eat buckwheat, you'll have peace of mind. Right. Anything with buckwheat, it's not recommended unless you personally cleaned it. You can, it's just not recommended in the spirit of the day. For example, a lot of products are made from potato flour, which is very similar to wheat starch. And you can make cookies and cakes and pizza from potato flour and even potato bread. It's technically kosher, but it just defeats the whole idea of Passover self-control and not eating everything. Yes. Potato bread. Yeah, yeah. Same idea. Anything that looks like chametz, it's better not to eat. As long as the place has a reliable hashgacha, you can go. Yeah, yes. Now, no, there is a list of kitniyot, but again, remember that any kitniyot that you decide to eat, you have to check it 3 times. Now, let's just quickly, there is a list of non-food products that don't require Passover hashgacha. It's in your folders, non-food items. Some of them we listed, paper goods, plastic, and all the dishwashing liquids and all the cleaning liquids, all of that doesn't need to have, as well as aluminum foil and products. You can look at it at home. And then you also have a list of foods that are okay with just OU or other hashgacha. They don't require Passover hashgacha. Okay, you can look at it at home as well. Now, let's go to brief description of the seder. At the seder, we have a few mitzvot. We have to drink 4 cups of wine. The wine has to be made from grapes. Ideally, it should be alcoholic. If a person cannot handle it, they can drink grape juice. Ideally, it should be red. If a person can't or didn't find, white is also okay. Ideally, it should be without sugar added, but if you can't find it, sugar added is okay. And ideally, it should be uncooked wine, not mevushal. But if you have non-Jews or you have not religious Jews at your table, then you have to get cooked wine, mevushal, it's called. And wine, we drink 4 times, 4 cups at specific times. You cannot drink them at once. You have to drink them at specific times in the seder. And each cup of wine must have 3 ounces. The cup must hold 3 ounces or more. If it has less than 3 ounces, it doesn't count. If you use a little pialushka, tiny one, it's 1 ounce or 2 ounces, it doesn't count. It has to have 3 ounces. So measure it beforehand. Take a measuring cup with water, pour 3 ounces of water in it. Pre-measure it and check how much this cup fits. Or 5 ounces is good. How much this cup? 4 ounces is good. 3 ounces is good. The less, the better, as long as it's more than 3 ounces. Because the bigger the cup, the more wine and more grape juice you'll have to put, and the more you'll have to drink. Ideally, we have to drink the entire cup, but the minimum is to drink a majority of the cup. So if you have 3 ounce cup, if you drink 2 ounces, it's good. If you have a 5 ounce cup, then you have to drink 3 ounces. So the bigger the cup, the more you have to drink. So we try to find the smallest cups, and then we save them for next Pesach so that yes, grape juice is good. If they have allergy, they're patur. Either they just take a chickful, but also if you use regular grape juice, you can take 2 ounces of grape juice and 1 ounce of water. Someone who is diabetic cannot have too much sugar or allergic. They can take 2 ounces of grape juice, 1 ounce of water, but only with regular grape juice, not light. Light grape juice is already diluted, so you have to use it straight. And again, if you make a calculation, you only need to use 3 ounces, out of which only 2 are grape. That means throughout the night, you only need 8 ounces of grape juice that you're actually going to be drinking. Right? So it's not so much. The entire 4 or 5 hour seder is only 8-ounce cup of grape juice. Okay. Now let's go to matzah. By the seder, we have to eat matzah, and on seder, matzah has to be shemura. Shemura means it was guarded, special for the Passover seder to fulfill the mitzvah. No, you can eat egg matzah during Passover, but not by the seder. By the seder, you have to eat regular matzah, and it should say shemura. The shemura matzah comes in 2 varieties: hand matzah and machine matzah. Shemura, S-H-E-M-U-R-A. You can get it in any Jewish store, yes. It comes in machine matzah, which is a little bit cheaper. It's also kosher for the seder. Or it comes in a hand matzah round ones, which is a little bit more expensive. Ideally, you should get hand matzah for the seder, but if it's not available or it's too expensive, you can buy machine shemura matzah just for the seder. The rest of the Pesach, you can eat regular matzah, but many people are stringent and they eat shemura matzah the entire Pesach. If a person doesn't have so much money, the main mitzvah is to eat shemura matzah by the seder, both nights of Pesach. Now, when we eat matzah, we eat it 3 times. We eat it at the beginning when we say hamotzi lechem min haaretz and alechilat matzah. You have to eat and what's called a kezayit, which is ideally an ounce, or at least if you have a scale, it's a good idea to purchase a food scale. And if you already have it, just put it in a plastic bag so that it's clean, and pre-measure matzah for all the participants. It's going to save you a lot of time by the seder. Take sandwich bags, pre-measure 20 grams of matzah for each person, and you need 3 of them, because we eat it at the beginning, we eat it for korach, for the sandwich, and we eat it at the end for afikomen. So you basically need 3 bags for each person, times 2, because it's 2 sedarim. So each person needs 6 bags. It's a lot of bags, but if you start in advance, or we eat matzah 3 times. Once when we wash hands, and we say hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we eat 1 ounce or 20 grams in this case. We eat a sandwich where we put maror, a little bit charoset, and we put lettuce. We eat a sandwich, which is also 20 grams. And at the end, we eat afikomen. Right before we say birkat hamazon, we eat afikomen, and then we wash hands and we say birkat hamazon. So each time is 20 grams. The leader of the seder should eat double that, but everyone else can eat just 20 grams. And you can measure it with the scale. This way you don't overeat, because out of fear that I didn't eat enough, people tend to eat too much, and then they can't eat later. So pre-measure matzah, and it's also a good idea to pre-measure lettuce. For maror, lettuce, you measure 1 ounce or 27 grams for each person. And on a food scale, again, just to know that you're eating enough and you're not wasting, because lettuce is hard to clean if you're cleaning it yourself, and it's expensive if you're buying it pre-checked. So you pre-measure it. This way, each person gets the right amount. Each person is sure that they ate the right amount, and each person doesn't have to overeat. Now, if a person finds it difficult to chew the matzah, they can use a smaller size. They can use 17 grams, and if it's very difficult for them, they can use up to 14 grams of matzah. The reason is because matzah is very light, doesn't have moisture, and because of that, even a small weight of matzah still has the size of kezayit. That's why in case of necessity, you can be lenient. Now, for the afikomen, you give each person the little piece of the matzah that was hidden, but in addition to that, you give them the bag that you prepared, or you give them another large piece to eat, because afikomen doesn't only mean the matzah that we hid. That wouldn't be enough for everyone to eat. So you give each person that piece and they have to eat it. If they want to save a little piece, they can save, but they also need to eat some piece of it. And they also have to eat regular matzah in addition to it. Afikomen is the matzah that we hide at the beginning and then we eat it at the end. And each person should eat a little piece of that afikomen, but that's not enough. That's only a small piece. In addition, every person must get a piece of regular matzah as well. And now you can either measure or estimate. To measure makes it easier that you don't waste food, you don't overeat, and it takes less time during the seder. Instead of dividing one person to each of the participants, you just give them bags even beforehand. You give each participant 3 bags of matzah, you give them 2 bags of lettuce, and throughout the seder, at the right time, they're going to just eat their own portion. Yeah, you just prepare it for yourself. Yeah. Okay, yes. That's a good idea. There is a custom to wash the cup every time you use it. Between Ashkenazim don't do it, Sephardim do it. There are 2 reasons for it. Number 1 is for cleanliness. A clean cup is nicer to drink from. And number 2 is there's a Kabbalistic reason. Water represents mercy and wine represents strict justice, judgment. So we wash it out and we use a clean cup again. No, you just rinse the same cup. Yeah. Now, the custom also is to pour for each other, but you don't have to be strict about it. If someone is forgetting, someone is spacing out, you don't have to scream at them, just pour for yourself. It's fine. The custom is that someone else pours for you so that you look like a king, but again, it's not a must. And of course, we have to lean when we eat the matzah and when we drink the 4 cups, we have to lean on our left side. It's not enough to lean in air, you have to actually lean on something. Either if you have an armchair and you can lean on the handle, if not, you can lean sideways on the table, or you can lean sideways on the back of the chair. But it cannot be in air. Or you can get a partner and you lean on someone else's knee. Okay. For children, you don't have to be strict with these measurements. Children under bar mitzvah, just give them whatever they can handle. The older they are, the more you can give. But small children, just give them a little piece of matzah, a little cup of grape juice. If you want, you can dilute it, as long as it looks grape juice, so that they're not overwhelmed. And the last thing is maror. Maror is a bitter vegetable, and we usually use lettuce, even though it's not bitter when we eat it, but if it becomes mature, and sometimes you buy lettuce and it becomes bitter. So this is a sign what happened to the Jewish people, that at the beginning, their life in Egypt was very fresh and juicy, but then it became bitter. Ashkenazim put horseradish inside their lettuce. We don't have to do it. You can do it if you want, just to feel the bitterness. But if you eat just lettuce, it's going to be enough. This paper, as well as another paper, describes what the seder is, how to conduct it. There are certain parts of the seder that are required, and it says over here, this page is essential. If you read this page, you will fulfill the mitzvah of the seder, but of course this is the minimum. It's not recommended to read just the minimum, but if someone is stuck, a sick person, tired person, they read just this, or person who cannot read well, they just read this and they fulfill the mitzvah. Yes. Eliyahu Hanavi cup is actually an Ashkenazi custom. We don't have to do it. If you want to do it, you can, and you can pour it keep it there, and then you can pour it back into the, you don't drink from it, and you can use it for the next night. It's an Ashkenazi custom, yeah. Now, let me just point out that this paper talks about the important times for the Passover, and there are the time when you have to search for chametz. In addition to cleaning the chametz, we also have to conduct a search, one last search the night before Passover. When it's dark outside, around 7:40, 7:45, the family gets together, they make a blessing, and they go around with a candle. Then they switch the candle to a flashlight for safety, and they go around and they search one more time to make sure they didn't miss any chametz. Again, during the search, you're not looking for crumbs, you're only looking for packages and for Tuesday night, yes. Then after the search, you say the special paragraph, Kol Chamira, you save whatever you need to eat for breakfast, everything else you discard or put it away for sale. In the morning, until 10:20, you can eat breakfast with chametz. After 10:20, the breakfast has to be without chametz. And then until 10:45, no, I'm sorry, until 11:40, you have to sell it. Until 11:40, you can still sign the paper, give it to the rabbi, or add more things to your classes that you're selling. After 11:40, it's too late. You have to then get rid of it or throw it out. Then this paper also has candle lighting time. It also reminds you to make Eruv Tavshilin. And Eruv Tavshilin on the other side of the paper. Anytime we have Shabbat following a Yom Tov, like this year, we have Yom Tov Thursday and Friday, and then Shabbat. On Yom Tov, we cannot cook on Shabbat unless we started cooking already on a weekday. So we prepare an egg and one matzah. An egg we boil, it becomes hard-boiled egg. By the way, Sephardim have a custom to eat a hard-boiled egg by the Seder, and it's recommended to eat it at the beginning, right after Kiddush, so that people are not so hungry. You say Sha'akol on it, the egg represents the Korban Chagigah, it also represents the temple. That's why we eat it whole. We eat after the Kiddush, Kadesh, right? Before we do Urchatz, before we eat Karpas, we eat an egg. We say Sha'akol, we eat an egg, a whole egg, so that we remember Beit HaMikdash, and because the whole egg is a sign of mourning, so we're saying now we're supposed to be in Beit HaMikdash, we're supposed to be bringing the Korban Pesach, the Pesach offering, and we can't. So we eat the egg in memory of that. And the second reason, probably most important, is because when people come to the Seder, they're very hungry. And until we eat, it's a long time. So you eat an egg, encourage everyone to eat an egg. Someone wants to eat 2 eggs, let them eat 2 eggs. This way, they're going to give you time to read the Haggadah. Yes, yes. Basically, right after Kiddush, we drink the wine, the first cup of wine, and we eat the egg. Now, Eruv Tavshilin is the beginning of cooking for Shabbat. Customarily, we take a hard-boiled egg and 1 matzah, we put it aside and we make the blessing, Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav etzvanu al mitzvat Eruv, and then we save it for Shabbat. And then on Shabbat, we eat that matzah and we eat that egg. But because we started cooking on the weekday, we can continue cooking on Friday, right before Shabbat, for Shabbat. Even though Friday is still a Yom Tov, but we can cook for Shabbat, and we can light candles for Shabbat on Yom Tov. Now, just remember, on Yom Tov, you can only use fire to fire, existing flame. So either leave a fire on your stove or a candle, a 3-day candle, so that you can take fire from it for candles and for your stove is if necessary. Yes, we don't turn on and off our stove. You can raise the flame or lower the flame only if the food needs it. Yes. Preferably not. You should cook for Shabbat on Friday. Now, someone is asking, can we use Yemenite soft matzah? And the answer is yes, but you have to try it before, because many people tried it and they didn't like how it tastes. So get for yourself both. Also, it's very difficult to keep it because it has to be frozen until it's ready, and then you have to warm it up. Otherwise, it gets moldy. So it's not recommended. If you really want to, you can. But traditionally, we used the thin, crispy matzah, and that's what it's recommended to use. Yes. Yes, 1 eruv tavshilin for the entire household is enough. Yes, you nullify chametz twice, once after the search at night, and once after you burn chametz before 11:40 a.m. on Wednesday morning. After you burn it, there are certain sites, some synagogues, some synagogues have, it's advertised. It's a mitzvah, but if you cannot have access, you don't have access to fire, you just get rid of it, either by throwing it into public. Yes, it has to be your chametz. Either you put it in the public dumpster or you flush it down the toilet. It's still a mitzvah, just the ideal is to burn it. But if you cannot burn it, it's okay to destroy chametz any way you want. You save a few pieces. Right. Or any other chametz that's left over from breakfast. You can. Of course, you eat breakfast until 10:20, and then whatever is left from breakfast and everything you do last cleaning. Right. Yes. Oh, there are some apps and some websites that can show you foods that are kosher for Passover. There is OU app. There's an OU website, OU app, and you can also try Star K or CRC. There are various websites, and your folders have a lot of those foods and non-food items. Star K and CRC. Yes, we start the search with a candle. That's how it was originally done. But for safety, afterwards we switch to a flashlight. Start the search, and then no, it doesn't have to be dark. But sometimes under the bed, in the closet, it's dark. So you use a flashlight to or inside the bag, inside the pocket to check. As soon as you start approaching any flammable material like your closet, under the bed, you switch to the flashlight. You can use the flashlight from the beginning, but just symbolic that for children, we start with a candle, but then we switch to a flashlight. Okay, if there are no more questions, remember that you can submit your questions on the ladies' WhatsApp group anytime, and Bezrat Hashem, we will post this class and you can send it to whoever couldn't make it. Yes, and by the way, this Tuesday evening, we will have a class for men over here. So tell it to your fathers, your husbands, your brothers that they should come. I'll tell them a little bit about Pesach cleaning, Pesach shopping, as well as Pesach foods, and how to conduct Seder properly so that children should have pleasant memories. 8 o'clock Tuesday. And
Like, how long is the whole day?
this is the minimum. This is the minimum. This page is the minimum. Now, we will post the electronic version of the folder on the Emet website. On the Emet website, there will be the whole folder. You can print it out